Namaskaram. So I'm going to be talking about my experience staying at the Isha Yoga Center in Tennessee for a whole 30 days. And this was probably my first ever experience of God or divine energy or anything like that. So I'm going to explain that more a bit later. But yeah, firstly, I kind of want to talk a little bit about why I went there, the kind of how the routine was and how that kind of affected me, and then also my emotional situation, the emotional ups and downs that I was going through, and then finally just being in a consecrated space and what that kind of felt like. So firstly, just jumping into why I went there. Before this, I was staying in Houston in America. I was working with my business partner on our business, and things were rough. Like, we had no idea, things were not going well. We couldn't get clients. Like, we didn't know how we were going to continue even doing that anymore. So it was a difficult time. I was super stressed because imagine you don't know the future of your business. You have no idea how it's going to go. It was just a pretty scary time for us. So in December, we decided we need something to change the routine. And we found out you can volunteer at Isha for a Margali program, which is kind of like this winter program. So we both signed up for that. We drove over there and yeah, just jumped straight into it. And the routine, it was kind of a shock because I used to sleep for 9 hours, and there I was sleeping for maybe 6 hours a night at most, right? Which was pretty difficult. So I was waking up at 4 a.m., doing hours of sadhana, volunteering, eating a vegetarian diet, which was also new because I was on keto, which is a lot of meat and eggs and nuts and stuff like that. Jumped straight over to this vegetarian diet. And then again, more sadhana, more volunteering, and then you're sleeping at 10, right? So I don't want to give away too much about the routine because I know Sadhguru designs it in a very certain way. But yeah, that was a huge shock. For the first definitely 2 weeks, I was exhausted every single day. I found it so hard to wake up, so hard to stay awake during the morning practices. And yeah, honestly, that was so difficult to adjust to. By the end, I think I just about started to get used to it, but then it was time to go. So it was a pretty tough one. The diet, though, I'd say that was really interesting. If you're not vegetarian and you're trying to do spirituality, you might actually find this really interesting because switching from meat to vegetarian, I don't want to see it in a moral way, this is good, this is bad kind of way. It's just what actually helps you experience more spiritual stuff, right? And I noticed on a vegetarian diet, it just seemed like energy, there was more energy in my system, and it was easier for the energy to flow, especially during practices. So because I feel like when you eat a lot of meat, it's kind of heavy. It kind of sits in your stomach for longer. That's what I've noticed. If I have eggs in the morning, it just stays in my stomach for longer. Now I'm not a pure vegetarian at all, but when I was there, I really did notice a difference. The food just digests faster. It's gone. It's out your system. So I feel like it's less work for your body to actually, digest. So that was super interesting. Volunteering, it was a fun time. You're in a good state when you're just washing dishes and you feel happy. That's how you're in something's working, right? So that was really nice. Not going to talk too much about that. What I do really want to talk about is kind of the emotional roller coaster that I was on, that Shez went on, who's my friend, my business partner, who came with me, and a lot of the other people who I was there with, that everyone was kind of going through this emotional roller coaster because there was kind of all of us volunteers. There was probably I don't know, 10, 15 of us at one time, who are all between the ages of 20, 30, some people 40 or over. So we were all kind of in a big friend group and talking a lot about all this stuff. And yeah, definitely for me, the biggest thing I noticed was my mind felt like I was falling behind in terms of the world. It felt like I should be doing business, I should be working, I should be doing all this stuff. And all my goals that I had, my goals in the gym, my goals in business, my goals in, building my social media and stuff like that for personal branding. It felt like because I wasn't focusing on any of that, I had this sense of FOMO, I was missing out. And that's what led to these big downs because it was I was just in this super peaceful, nice place with nature, with trees around, nothing to worry about, just a super calm spiritual life. And my brain was like, no, 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 like we can't relax here. We can't like, I need to, surely I need to focus about this. We've been focusing on this stuff for so long. And it was just like, with again, like after the first couple of weeks, I started to like kind of internalize that, oh, like I don't need to do anything. I can just live, you know? And I'd say that's a big thing because I've heard other people talk about this, but a lot of us are really focused on our life situation, you know, our jobs, where our money comes from, our house, the bills, all of that kind of stuff, our social groups. But we're not so focused on our actual life, you know, like how you're alive right this second, like breathing air and like everything's happening, like your actual life that you just take as a normal thing. Like to take your focus from your life situation back to your life, that was crazy. And that really, really started to like deeply start sinking in within the last 2 to 3 weeks. Sorry, 3 to 4 weeks. And it was just so nice to just actually calm down, you know? Now, the next thing I want to mention is like, I've never been to a temple in my whole life. Like before this, I was never ever in a temple. So I've kind of felt like, because like I'm just some British dude, right? As far as everyone else, there's a lot of Indian people there. So like I felt a bit, you know, am I gonna not understand the culture? Am I gonna miss out? Like, am I gonna not understand the social etiquette of being in temples? But everyone was so nice. Like honestly, you can tell like they actually follow Sadhguru's advice. Like everyone was so nice and inclusive and kind. So I felt like I could just be funny and friendly and with everyone. So there really wasn't any need to be nervous. So even if I was there on my own, I feel like it would have been a great time anyway. Visiting the temples, that was a very new experience. Like, but again, I just take Sadhguru's advice. Like, don't think too much about it. Just go, be in the spaces, feel what there is to feel. And as you do it more and more, like you'll become more receptive to it. And yeah, in the Adi Yogi shrine, which you can see on Google and stuff, I might put a picture in. But in the Adi Yogi shrine, like that was the main place they had at the time. They've added like a Devi now, if you know what that is. But if not, it's kind of like a feminine temple. But yeah, I spent a lot of time in there, and it's so subtle. Like it's so hard to put into words what it does. Like with a Western mind, like, oh, this does this or this does this. Like it's so subtle. You just have to let your mind just sit back and just let whatever it is happen to you. And it's just like this silence, this meditative feeling starts to kind of bubble up. And again, just to actually sit in that and experience it without labeling it, without being like, oh, wow, spirituality is happening. Like just to let it happen. It took me some time to get used to that, you know? Like it started to show me. And like what I said at the start of the video, I feel like being in this space was my first real experience of godliness, divine energy, whatever you want to call it. I really meant that because I feel like being on this routine with this sleep schedule, with this diet, with the amount of sadhana we were doing as well, it's probably like 3 hours in the morning, an hour in the evening. Like that's a lot. I've never done that much in my life. And like it makes a difference because I've said this to a lot of people. I was just walking around one day and I noticed it was kind of like my mind and all the chattering and the emotions and all the normal stuff. It was still kind of going on like on this level up here. But what I started to notice happening was like from like down here somewhere, like this positive, glowing, nice, warm energy started to bubble up and get more and more intense over the days, right? So it was like I felt it kind of rising, you know. But like it it kind of hit this cap of my mind because I was still in my mind quite a lot in the first few weeks. And like this energy was rising, but my mind was still going on. So I could see this positive energy, but all I could experience was still my mind. It was so interesting. And I was like, oh, okay. So like spirituality is not something that happens in your head. it's just something that happens in your very being, in your experience. And like spending more time in these temples, like I was saying, that feeling, that energy that's building up starts to get more intense, right? So it's just like this subtle skill of learning, like when it's time to pick up the mind and use it, you can use it. Like in this video, I'm using my mind right now, and I think that's okay, right? You kind of have to do it in your day-to-day life, but just learning the skill of like just maybe relaxing that mind and putting it down to one side, you know, there is something to doing that as well. It's kind of a skill which allows all of this energy you're building in your sadhana, in your devotion, in your day-to-day life to actually rise into your experience. So I'm going to cut it there. I'm not going to talk about this too much longer. I'll be making some more videos about this kind of stuff. But yeah, ever since this experience, my whole spiritual mindset, whatever you want to call it, has completely changed. Before that, I was just watching Sadhguru videos and doing some Vipassana in my room. I didn't really know what any of the stuff that he was talking about was. I feel like after visiting that, I really saw like what this actually is, what the potential of this spiritual stuff actually is. You know, I see the worth of investing my life into this kind of stuff to build it up more and more. Again, not as an achievement, but just like it's so worthwhile. You know, it felt so incredible. So I'm going to leave it there. If you haven't been there, I'd highly recommend you visit. Beautiful place, beautiful experience, and like amazing people as well. So thank you, Sadhguru, for that experience. Thank you, everyone at the ashram, and namaskaram. Enjoy the rest of your day.